fall of Jerusalem and the beginning of a test of faith. Imagine waking up to see your entire world crumble before your eyes. The air is thick with the acrid scent of smoke. Flames consume the buildings around you. Distant cries echo through the streets, and the sacred temple, the heart of your faith, lies desecrated and in ruins. Your people are being led away in captivity, marching toward an uncertain fate in a foreign land. This was the fate of Daniel and his friends when King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon laid siege to Jerusalem. The magnificent Temple of Solomon, a symbol of God's presence for generations, was plundered. The sacred treasures, gold and silver vessels once used for offerings to the Almighty, were taken to Babylon and placed in the temples of pagan gods. The glory of Jerusalem was stripped away, and along with it, the noblest sons of Israel were now in chains, marching toward exile. But the fall of the city was only the beginning of a test of faith, one that would push their beliefs to the limit. The test of identity. To solidify his rule, King Nebuchadnezzar ordered his chief official, Ashpenaz, to select young men from the royal and noble families of Israel. They were to be physically flawless, intelligent, and quick to learn, the ideal candidates to serve in the royal court. But this training was not merely academic, it was psychological warfare. Each was given a new name, severing their connection to their Hebrew roots and replacing it with Babylonian culture. Daniel became Belteshazzar, Hananiah was renamed Shadrach, Mishael was called Meshach. Azariah was given the name Abednego. It was a calculated attempt to rewrite their identity, to make them forget the God of their ancestors. And then came the king's food, lavish portions directly from the royal table. For many, this would be an honor. But for Daniel, it was a defining moment. The food had been dedicated to pagan gods, and eating it would compromise his faith. He felt the weight of the decision. With a racing heart, he approached the official. "Please," Daniel said, "allow us to eat only vegetables and drink water." The official hesitated, fear evident on his face. "If you appear weak, I could be executed." "Test us for 10 days, Daniel proposed, then compare our appearance with the others. Reluctantly, the official agreed. After 10 days, the results were undeniable. Daniel and his friends were healthier, stronger, and more vibrant than everyone else. Their faith not only preserved their health, but also won them favor in the eyes of their captors. The king's dream and the wisdom of God. But Daniel's true test of faith was yet to come. One night, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that terrified him. He summoned his magicians, enchanters, and astrologers, demanding an interpretation. But there was a catch. He refused to tell them the dream. "Tell me the dream and its meaning," the king commanded. "If you fail, you will be torn to pieces." The wise men panicked. "No man on earth can do this," they protested. Nebuchadnezzar's heart pounded, consumed by fear and fury. "Then you are all frauds. Kill them all," he decreed, sentencing every wise man in Babylon, including Daniel and his friends, to death. When Arioch, the commander of the royal guard, came to carry out the sentence, Daniel did not react with fear, but with wisdom. "Give me time," he said, "and I will reveal the dream." That night, Daniel prayed fervently, seeking God's mercy, and God answered. In a vision, the mystery was revealed. Daniel awoke with deep awe and gratitude, lifting his voice in praise. Praise be to the name of God forever and ever. Wisdom and power are his. He changes times and seasons. He deposes kings and raises up others. Daniel 2:20-21. Before the king, Daniel declared, "No wise man can reveal this mystery," he said, "but there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets." He described the king's vision, a colossal statue with a head of gold, chest of silver, belly of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of iron mixed with clay. A stone not cut by human hands struck the statue and shattered it into dust. "You, O king, are the head of gold," Daniel explained. "After you, other kingdoms will rise, each inferior to the last. But one day, God will establish a kingdom that will never be destroyed." Nebuchadnezzar was astonished. He fell prostrate before Daniel. "Surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings," he proclaimed. "Have you ever faced an impossible situation where only divine intervention could bring an answer? The blazing furnace and the divine deliverance." Despite this revelation, Nebuchadnezzar's pride remained unshaken. He erected a colossal golden statue and decreed that all must bow before it. Anyone who refused would face death in the blazing furnace. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood firm. When they were brought before the king, he demanded, "Who is the God who can deliver you from my hands?" Their response was unwavering. "Our God is able to save us. But even if he does not, we will never worship your image." Nebuchadnezzar was furious. "Heat the furnace 7 times hotter," he roared. The 3 men were thrown into the flames. The heat was so intense that the soldiers who cast them in perished instantly. But then a miracle happened. The king, watching, was in shock. "Didn't we throw 3 men into the fire?" His advisors nodded. "Look," the king exclaimed, "I see 4 men walking freely in the fire, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego emerged without a single burn. Not even the smell of smoke clung to them. Nebuchadnezzar declared, "No other god can save in this way." The pride of a king and the humbling of an empire. The wind whispered through the golden city of Babylon. From the heights of his mighty palace, Nebuchadnezzar gazed upon his kingdom. The setting sun bathed the towering temples and hanging gardens in a golden glow, reflecting the splendor of a realm that seemed untouchable. He took a deep breath, his chest swelling with pride, and whispered to himself, "Is this not the great Babylon, which I have built by my power and for my glory?" His words had barely left his lips when the heavens thundered. Then a voice came from the sky, powerful as 1,000 storms. "King Nebuchadnezzar, your kingdom has been taken from you. You will be driven from mankind and will live among the beasts of the field. You will eat grass like cattle, and 7 times will pass until you acknowledge that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of men." Silence fell. For a moment the king stood frozen, his eyes empty. Then his body trembled, his hands shook, his mind shattered like broken glass. The great king of Babylon collapsed to his knees. His royal robe slipped from his shoulders. The authority in his eyes was replaced by sheer terror and confusion. And then he ran, not as a man, but as a wild beast. The palace gates swung open, and Nebuchadnezzar fled into the wilderness. His servants and advisors watched in horror, powerless to stop the prophecy from unfolding. 7 years of madness. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. In the fields under the scorching sun and relentless storms, Nebuchadnezzar became unrecognizable. His hair grew wild and tangled, like an eagle's feathers. His nails, thick and sharp, became claws. He walked on all 4s, covered in dirt and dew. His eyes, once filled with cunning and sovereignty, were now the eyes of a lost animal wandering in darkness. He roamed the wilderness, unable to grasp his own existence. The fields became his palace, the grass, his food, the sky, his roof. The glory of Babylon had been stripped away. The king who once made nations bow now crawled upon the ground, unable to remember who he was, and time passed. The restoration, the moment he looked to heaven. Then something happened. After 7 years in darkness, the wind blew differently that morning. The clouds parted and the first rays of sunlight touched his time-worn face. And in that instant, his eyes lifted to the heavens. It was as if, for a brief moment, his forgotten mind remembered. There was a God above all. And then, in a single second, the madness left him. Nebuchadnezzar fell to his knees and raised his trembling hands to the sky. His words broke the silence, mingled with tears and regret. "Now I praise and exalt the King of Heaven, for his ways are just, and he is able to humble those who walk in pride." The heavens heard. In that very instant, his mind was restored. His heart, once hardened, now pulsed with reverent awe. And more than that, his throne was returned, and his glory multiplied. No kingdom, no throne, no power can withstand the authority of the Almighty. True greatness is found in bowing before the one who reigns forever. The question remains, do we need to lose everything to acknowledge the sovereignty of God? May this story serve as an eternal warning. No human power can resist the majesty of the Most High. May God bless you.